Hi guys, so I know it's been a while and I've had a few questions and a few messages and a few replies etc. on some of my older videos about what's currently going on. Has anything changed since my last video? It has, I'll get to that. And I just wanted to make this video just to clear up a few things and answer a few questions. So I'm going to start with the thyroid, obviously. That's what this whole channel was meant to be about. So I had my yearly review 4 days ago, so the Friday just gone, which made it my second year since having cancer. And I had my blood test. I haven't had my thyroglobulin results back yet because they have to go all the way up to Birmingham, so it takes a month. We should get them back hopefully by Christmas. Basically they told me that my levels were slightly too high, but nothing overly major. They're going to do another blood test in January to see if it's changed, and if it hasn't, then they will readjust my medication again. So I will go from having 175 micrograms 3 days a week and 150 4 days a week to 150 micrograms 7 days a week again, which is what I was originally on after my treatment. Anyway, I've been quiet for a few things. One, because there wasn't really much to update regarding my thyroid issues, but I am pretty sure in a few of my other videos I've mentioned that I'll probably update soon, hopefully with some good news and a change like in my life sort of thing. I just wanted to go into a little bit of detail about that. Basically, my partner and I have been trying for our second baby since I was given the all clear, which I was given the all clear January 2016, so January last year, and we decided to wait to start trying until May. For you guys, I don't think you guys know, I have a nearly 3-year-old daughter. She's 3 in December, end of December. She was conceived in March, so we wanted to avoid the whole Christmas, New Year scenario, so we thought if we wait until May, that clears Christmas and that clears January. So we waited until May and then we started trying. Obviously it only took us 2 months to fall pregnant with Poppy, so we was hoping we'd get lucky this time. Fast forward a year and still nothing. I was a bit concerned, obviously. Danny wasn't. He's very laid back anyway. I was concerned that it might be to do with my thyroid treatment, so left it another few months and went to the doctors where we explained, obviously we've been trying for a while, nothing's happened, we fell quickly the first time, so just wanted to make sure everything was okay. So he did a blood test for me then and there, and then booked me in for 2 more. Also booked an appointment for my other half to do a sperm count type test, where they send it off for testing and see what the quality of the sperm and all that's like, you know. Anyway, so that was in July, just gone. And no, was it July just gone? It might have been June actually. No, it was July. So in July, yeah, so I had my blood test done. I had my second and third blood test booked for the last week of July. I think it was the 26th and the 28th of July. Anyway, so it was probably about, I can't even remember how long afterwards, I started I don't know, I just had this strong urge that I needed to do a pregnancy test. So that's what I did, and before I'd even put the stick down, it turned positive. I was in complete shock. And little bit in denial, because obviously I've not had very many symptoms. Nothing like I did with my daughter. I don't really know what I expected. Of course it's not going to be the same second time around. I've been feeling a bit off for a little while, but just put it down to the fact that I was just incredibly tired, and just needed a little bit more sleep, that sort of thing. Anyway, so obviously I told Danny, we were happy, we started talking about the future, etc. And then on the 21st of July I went to work, and I was feeling just like a bit uncomfortable, like kind of like period type pains, cramping sort of thing. Nothing to worry about as such, because obviously I know the uterus stretches in your first few weeks of pregnancy, so I'll put it down to that. I had spotting, which was brown spotting, sorry for too much information. Again, wasn't overly concerned because that can happen in early pregnancy. By this point I was dated about 6 weeks, so I didn't worry too much. Cramping and brown spotting very early in pregnancy is occasionally quite normal. The cramping didn't let up, the spotting didn't stop. By the time I got home, I felt like I was being continuously punched all down the left side of my abdomen. When I got home I went to the bathroom and the spotting had turned bright red. I'm officially in panic mode. So we went up to, at the time, Gillingham, because we were told going there, there's an open clinic. So we went there, and when we got there they had no more slots available because there was too many patients. So we had to go to Pembury Hospital A&E, because they have an emergency gynaecology unit there and Maidstone do not. So fast forward 2 hours after I'd been on the phone to 111, and we were at Pembury A&E, where I was physically crawling through reception. I was in so much pain. I had tears streaming down my face. It was just unbearable. I couldn't even explain that pain. I don't even think childbirth was that painful compared to that anyway. So they wanted me to obviously pee in the cup and then do their pregnancy test, which obviously came back positive. When I then spoke to triage, she just asked me a few generic questions. When was my last period, and etc, etc. She dated me 6 weeks on the dot, so I was 6 weeks that day. When I then saw the gynaecology nurse, she got me to lay down and she felt my tummy. And she asked me, obviously, the questions regarding ectopic pregnancy. Did I have any shoulder tip pain? No. Had I been sick? No. Had I been cramping? Obviously, yes. Bleeding? Yes, which had pretty much slowed down by this point. She told me that until a pregnancy has been, until something has been confirmed as being in your uterus, that every pregnancy is suspected to be ectopic. So she said that that's a possibility. If not, it would be a miscarriage. She couldn't scan me because they didn't have any machines available at the time. She told me she didn't think it was ectopic because my stomach was still soft, and if it was, then it'd be like steel, incredibly hard, kind of like in later stages of pregnancy, I guess. Whereas my stomach was still soft. The pain wasn't as unbearable as it could be, but the bleeding had slowed down. So she told me to go home, take some painkillers if need be, obviously sticking to paracetamol because I was still pregnant, and call the emergency gynecology unit on Monday morning to get a scan booked in, like an emergency scan. So then I went home, obviously went to sleep. I was in a lot of pain. It took a long time for that to kick in, once I took the painkillers, that is, for the pain to settle enough for me to sleep. So the next day, this was a Saturday, I woke up and the pain was even more intense. I couldn't get comfy, I couldn't stop crying because of how much it hurt. I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't do anything. We thought that morning we needed to go to Sainsbury's to get some bits food-wise, so I made myself go in the hopes that maybe it'd ease if I was walking about a little bit. It didn't. I was in a lot of pain. I could barely walk. I was pretty much hanging off of the trolley just so I would stay upright. When we got back in the car, every turn, bump, knock, lump in the road sent pain shooting up my left side, and there was just nothing I could do. I just had to sort of grin and bear it because of the scan obviously being booked in for the following week. So I took some more painkillers, rested as much as I could, and it pretty much just continued like that for the rest of the day. The pain didn't let up, it didn't ease up, it just stayed. So then the day after that, on the 23rd of July, the Sunday, the pain was gone. There was still very minimal bleeding, if anything. By this point it was literally as if nothing had ever happened. Like, I didn't have any of that pain, I didn't have the spotting, I didn't have the cramping, I didn't go to A&E, they didn't tell me anything. It was quite literally as if nothing had even happened, and I hoped that maybe it was just random. At the same time, every time I went to the toilet, I obviously checked, thinking that maybe the pain was in fact a miscarriage, and maybe that the pain had stopped because it was over. I'd had no clotting or anything. So anyway, so on the Monday morning I called the hospital to get my scan booked in, and they booked me in for the Tuesday, the 25th, because it's the earliest they could squeeze me in at 4 o'clock. So I was like, okay, so I've got 2 whole days pretty much to kill and not freak. By this time I was having morning sickness. I felt sick every single morning, pretty much from 6-week mark. Just couldn't shake it, and I didn't have sickness with my daughter, I just had chronic heartburn. So on the Tuesday morning again I woke up with sickness, and I had a phone call from the hospital asking if I could go in at between 3 and 3:30 instead of 4, because one of the sonographers had to go home early, so they were shifting all the appointments up, which was fine. So headed in at about 3. I think we left here at 2:45 and probably got there about 3:20. Went into the gynecology unit where I had to fill out a form detailing my symptoms, which were non-existent at this point. I had no bleeding or anything, no cramping, no pain, no nothing. Again, it was as if nothing had ever happened. I listed the symptoms that I did have, and they obviously did another pregnancy test, which again came back positive. I'd been testing pretty much every day since the pain started, just for like a peace of mind type thing. So then they called me in for the scan, and I've never felt so scared in my life. Even when I had cancer, all I could think about was being there for Poppy, was just making sure I got through it for Poppy. But this is still my baby. This is our second child, Poppy's brother or sister, and I was so scared. I think I knew, deep down I knew that it wasn't going to be good, but I still hoped and prayed nonetheless that everything would be okay. So anyway, so we had the scan, and the nurse, sonographer, whatever, she stayed quiet. Obviously I was crying by this point because I was so scared, and she asked me if I was okay, and I told her I was scared, obviously, a bit of a silly question. She asked me why, again, silly question, and I said because I'm worried that the baby isn't where it should be. And she said that she couldn't see anything. And obviously straight away my mind just went, oh, so maybe I'm just too early and you can't see anything on the scan yet. Maybe I got my dates wrong or something. When I asked, she said that she couldn't see anything in my uterus at all. Nothing at all. There was no baby, no sac, no fetal pole, nothing. And she kept checking, and I said, what did that mean? And she said that she couldn't see the baby, but she could see something in my tube, in my left tube near my ovary. She wasn't sure whether that was just a cyst and maybe I was just too early, or whether that was the baby. So she went down and spoke to another nurse or something and came back with her, and the second woman, she checked the scans, nodded a few times, looked at the other sonographer, and then looked at me and confirmed that what she could see in the tube was my baby. It wasn't just a cyst, and basically my pregnancy was ectopic, and it would mean having surgery, possibly. I didn't know. I didn't know what to think. Didn't know how to feel. I think I just went numb. So they told me I wasn't going to go home, and I had to stay in and have treatment, and that there wasn't any way of fixing it, because you can't move the baby once the baby had implanted. There was no way of moving it, and I hoped that they were just wrong, that there wasn't actually anything there that I'd get another scan, that maybe they just saw it wrong, or anyway. So they took me and my partner and our daughter to another room, and the doctor basically started to explain to me that I'd need to have surgery to remove the baby from my tube, and he needed me to sign a consent form to confirm that if it was deemed necessary they could take my tube as well. Barely understood what the doctor was saying. I was literally just in my own head trying to think of every possible way that I could fix this, that I could make this right, that I could save my baby. Nothing I could think of obviously would work. They told me you can't move it, there's nothing, that's all I could do. So I signed the consent form hoping it wouldn't come to that, because obviously if they thought that my tube was too damaged, then having any other children from that tube would be near on impossible, because it would probably just end up ectopic again. And obviously if it ruptured, then I would have to have it removed anyway. Shortly after that, Another nurse came in and fitted a cannula into each arm, which is awful. I can't stand needles anyway. I think I was shaking so bad I had to keep my arms flat on the bed just because I couldn't stop shaking, and I didn't want her to end up sticking that needle somewhere that she didn't need to. They moved me to another room in my own room and kept telling me I had the best room in the house, it was the biggest room in the hospital or on that floor, whatever, had the nicest view, blah blah. I really did not give a shit by this point. They were going to take my baby away from me, and they wanted me to have the best room. I didn't want the best room. They left me there for 4 to 5 hours, I think it was. Came in and brought me food, but they didn't come in for anything else. So around about, I think it was 9 or 10 o'clock that night, I had 2 surgeons come in, and they explained that they couldn't operate after midnight, but that they would try and get me in within the next 2 hours, provided no emergencies came in. I then was told, I think around midnight, that two emergencies had come in and it was life or death situations, and they had to operate then and there, otherwise those patients would die. So obviously they came first, which is understandable. At this point I was having no symptoms of an ectopic pregnancy. I wasn't in any pain, and I wasn't even really bleeding at all. So it just left me there to my own thoughts. Danny had to go home because they don't allow you to stay overnight, so he went home, and the next morning, around about, I think it was 6 or 8 o'clock in the morning, the nurses told me that I would be going into theatre by 1 o'clock or before midday, I think it was. So obviously as midday got closer, I started getting more and more anxious and scared. So Danny came back and he sat with me until then, obviously, and then I went down, before I went down rather, and then at midday I was told that they were going to come and get me around 1 or half 1, and this time they actually did come and get me. It's probably the worst moment of my life, being wheeled down that hallway into the theatre prep room. That was such an awful feeling, knowing that when I woke up that I wouldn't actually be pregnant anymore, and that there was nothing more that I could do. So I've obviously had surgery a few times now, so I know the protocol. I think I've had 4 surgeries now in my life. So when I woke up from my surgery around 3 hours later, I think it was about 5, I can't even really remember, I woke up and all I could do was cry. And I had a nurse ask me why I was crying, asking if I was in pain, and I told her no, I'm crying because of the reason I'm here. And all she said was, oh, and then that was it. She might have said something else, I don't know, I don't know how I was feeling. I fought off the anaesthetic fog rather. When you have surgery, obviously they put you under anaesthetic, and when you wake up everything's very foggy, you're very drowsy, and you could be in and out for hours. And I know after my thyroid surgery that I was actually in and out for 4 hours after I woke up the first time. I just kept going in and out, and it was the same when I had my appendix, and I fought this. I thought this time, because my dreams were no better than my reality, and staying unconscious wasn't going to make this any better for me. So none of the staff understood how I was feeling. I think they just see it so often, it's just their job to just do it and let someone deal with it in their own way. Danny came back and I had to call my parents and tell them what had happened. And I had to tell them over the phone, and it was so hard. Telling your parents that you just lost your baby and you just had surgery. It was so hard. I could say it over and over again to anyone else, but not to them. I couldn't say it again to them. It was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to say to either of my parents. They both came to visit me, and the whole time they were there I just had this lump in my throat. I didn't know what to say, they didn't know what to say. They told me I should have told them sooner. I told them I didn't want them to worry, and that I was hoping everything would be okay. My dad told me I should have told him about the A&E trip on a Friday, and I told him that I didn't want to tell him if it turned out to be nothing, because I was only 6 weeks pregnant. And so I kept it quiet. So they kept me in for the remainder of the day because it was already too late to discharge me. So then the Thursday, the day after my surgery, the 27th of July, they discharged me at 1 o'clock. I hate that I had to be in hospital to endure that. I wanted to be at home. I wanted to enjoy my pregnancy and extend our family, and instead I ended up in hospital where they took my baby and they took my left tube because my tube ruptured during the surgery, so they had no choice but to remove my left fallopian tube. The day they discharged me was Danny's birthday. Just had the final nail into the coffin, so I will forever remember the day before his birthday as the day we lost our baby. I will never, ever regret falling pregnant with our child. I love that baby. From the moment that stick told me I was pregnant, I loved that baby. And I haven't got very many reminders now. I requested the scan photos, so I have those, and I have my hospital bracelet, and I have my pregnancy test that I took. Aside from that, the only reminders that I have of that day is the 3 scars that they left me with on my abdomen. 1 on each side, Hang on in my belly button. I don't even know how to feel about it anymore. It was numb for so long afterwards. And then when I removed my dressings from the surgery, I was in the bath and I thought it'd make it a bit easier to take them off. I peeled off the first one and I just broke down halfway through the second. It was just like a fresh wave of pain, just like a fresh reminder that they took my baby. And I eventually did take all 3 dressings off. It took over an hour, but I did take them all off and cleaned them up. I think the whole time I was healing physically, I couldn't start healing emotionally, so I just numbed myself and shut myself off from everything. And when I did finally, like when the stitches did finally dissolve and I started healing, it hurt. It's like those stitches were saving me from the fall, from the heartbreak that I knew I was going to feel all over again. Every morning for just a split second it was like I was still pregnant and everything was okay and the baby was fine, and then it had hit me again and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think, and I couldn't survive. And I can't even remember how I got through those days after, or even how I managed to get through work when I finally did go back. It was so difficult to just put on a face and pretend that I was okay when I really wasn't, and I just wanted to curl up into a ball and die, basically. So fast forward to now, it's still raw, I'm still emotionally raw, and I don't really know where to go from here. I cry a lot, I try and get through it as best I can, but everything is a reminder at the moment. I should be 22 weeks pregnant now, and I'm not, and I should know what we're having. I should know the gender of our baby. I should know, and I don't know anything. I have my suspicions, and I have my names, and that'll be something that I hold to my heart, because that's for me. That's not for anybody else to know, and that's not for anybody else to share with me. That's for me, and that's for my own sanity, my own peace of mind, and just a little bit of closure. That's why I requested the scans. That's why I look at them every day, and that's why I needed them near me, for something to hold on to, other than the pain that I feel. So, that's a very sad video, I'm afraid, this time. And I'm sorry if it came out in a rush. I've not told very many people how I feel about what happened. I just know that I've cried and I've thrown things and I've dealt with it in the best way that I possibly can, but I don't think there is a wrong or a right way to grieve, especially for a child. And even though I was just under 7 weeks when they took the baby, I may as well have been 30 weeks. It still hurt. It still hurts now, and I'll always remember that baby, and that will always be my second pregnancy. So even when we do eventually have another baby, that will be my third pregnancy. When I had my year review for my thyroid at the hospital, I asked if my thyroid treatment could have caused anything to do with the ectopic, and they said it wasn't related in any way, and that it was just one of those things. I've heard a lot of things since, some hurtful and some people just thoughtless, I think, more than anything. And I don't hold that against the person or the people that said it, because no one really knows what to say to someone that's lost a baby. Some people have been deliberately hurtful, others accidental. Surprisingly, it's the accidental people that hurt the most. People being deliberately spiteful is, it's not a surprise as such. People judge and people can be cruel, and I don't expect everyone to understand, not at all. So they can think what they want. I'm just glad that my thyroid isn't the cause, so that when we do have another baby it won't end the same way, hopefully. I do, however, think that the reason it took us over a year to conceive is because in that year the doctors were still playing with my medication, so my levels are a bit up, down, all over the place now. And then once they'd settled is when I fell pregnant, actually quite quickly. So I'm really hoping that the next baby will come and will be healthy and will actually come into the world. So for now, that is my update. I've recorded, re-recorded, deleted, and then re-recorded it again so many times since I had my surgery, and every time I recorded it, it just didn't sound right, it didn't come out right, nothing sounded right, nothing was how it actually was, nothing came out right, it was all wrong. And I guess I was just hoping that I'd eventually find the words, and I'm not even sure whether this is right or whether this feels right, or whether I should just delete it. I've been talking for so long now that I might as well just be talking to myself. Essentially I am, I guess. There's no one else here, so I just wanted to let you guys know that as far as my thyroid goes, I'm fine and I'm healthy, and my levels are just a tiny little bit too high, but everything else is fine apart from that, and I'm dealing with things the way that I need to. I will update again hopefully soon. No promises, but I will try. Maybe go into a little bit more detail on a few things, and we'll just go from there. So thank you for all the comments and the messages to see what's going on in my life. It's nice to know there are people that are curious, even though I've never met some of you, probably most of you. And I just wanted to say thank you for the, I think it's 12,000 and something views on my side effects video. I can't believe how quickly that went. In the space of 6 months it went from 5,500 to probably nearer 13,000 now. I can't believe how many people viewed it, so thank you very much. It's nice to know I'm getting my message across and that people are seeing it, because I know when I was going through it there wasn't a lot of information on it. I will get some more information, I think, on both my thyroid issues, or thyroid in general, and ectopic pregnancies. I'm not in any fit mind state at this current moment in time to delve deeper into that world. I did shortly after my surgery, but right now I'm feeling a bit fragile and I don't want to go over what I already know, so I'll probably leave it a little while and then update on some information. So thank you again for all your comments and messages, and I will hopefully upload again soon.